And one of the things that was fascinating that you brought up here is the idea that our oral microbiome is kind of where it all starts. And when you put something in there and start to break it up, and I was just at a biological dentist that was checking all of that, that was
Yeah.
looking and then showing you on a microscope, oh, you have this, you have a, spirochete here, and that's not good, but you got good ones here. And it's a rarity to see that. It's a rarity to even talk about it. We know gut microbiome, take your probiotics, eat your, Greek yogurt, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we don't look at the oral microbiome. And I loved how you kind of focused on that in some ways. You even built out a toothpaste now. We'll get into that later. But I mean, for the listener, just how important, what steps are there to improving an oral microbiome?
Yeah, look, I mean, when I look at why we're doing things today, like why is there fluoride in 73% of the municipalities in the
Right.
US? Why is there fluoride in most toothpaste? And why do 2 out of 3 Americans use mouthwash every day? And you have to go back 100 years because 100 years ago it was discovered this oral systemic link, right? People with poor oral hygiene had a higher incidence of heart attack and stroke, and you could culture pathogenic oral bacteria in the thrombus that cause sudden cardiac death in patients, right? So there was a translocation of pathogenic bacteria that causes systemic inflammation, plaque instability, plaque rupture, and heart attack, sudden cardiac death. So the remedy at the time was, and this is why bleeding gums are so important, because you get translocation of the oral bacteria into the systemic circulation. So the strategy and the treatment strategy at the time was, let's kill all the bacteria, right? Let's use fluoride, let's use chlorhexidine, let's use these stringent antiseptics. But remember, 100 years ago, we didn't know of a microbiome. Today, humans are 10 times more bacteria than we are human, right? There's 10 times more bacteria cells that live in and on our body than human. And now every major chronic disease is associated with dysbiosis. So now we know we have to support the microbiome. We can't destroy it. And so these practices that have survived for 100 years have to go away because we know better, right? And so fluoride, for me, it's all about risk benefit. What's the benefit? There is no benefit for fluoride. What's the risk? Well, it lowers IQ in kids by as much as 7 points. It shuts down your thyroid function. It's a neurotoxin. It causes dysbiosis. So you got to get rid of fluoride. And then antiseptic mouthwash, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I see these adverts and going, this kills 99.99% of the bacteria in your mouth.
Yeah.
And they seem to be proud of that. They seem to be proud that they're making patients sicker and causing dysbiosis and causing their blood pressure to go up and increased risk of heart attack, stroke, and Alzheimer's. So, we know better today, and we have to change the standard of care. I spoke before the American Dental Association and said, look, you got to stop doing this. There is a better way. The science proves that what you're doing is not making people better. And we have to start implementing strategies that obviously get rid of the pathogenic bacteria, the problem bacteria, but support the non-pathogenic commensal bacteria. And that's what I've been trying to do for the past 20 years is how do we restore the normal flora? How do we
Mhm.
improve nitric oxide production and eliminate the things that are disrupting its natural production?
Fortunately, it seems that some of that is coming true in my state of Florida now. You person here, they took out the fluoride, right? They're
Yeah,
looking at it. Saw the Surgeon General talking about the dangers of mercury fillings. Like, good, that should be applauded in
finally.
some ways. But
Yeah,
it's just the start because you're right. These commercials, and I see them sometimes too. Now they're going alcohol free, right? But they still have all the germ bacteria, still saying 99% against
yeah,
germs. I mean. I think it's we're living in this antiseptic type world where we're supposed to be very fearful of germs, not even realizing we are germs. Like you said, 10 times more germs than actual cells in our own body. And that's where the shift has to come. And I think really analyzing how do we differentiate good versus bad, right?
yeah. No, look, I think that the evidence is really clear, and we and others have published on this, that the more diverse your oral microbiome, the better nitric oxide producing capacity you have, and the better management of blood pressure. And so in 2019, we published a paper showing that if you take normal intensive patients and you just give them mouthwash twice a day for 7 days, we completely destroy their microbiome. You decrease nitric oxide production. And in some people, we saw a 20 millimeter, 26 millimeter increase in their blood pressure. 7 days of just using mouthwash. And so there's clear evidence now that destroying the oral microbiome shuts down nitric oxide production, causes an increase in blood pressure. You lose the protective benefits of exercise. And it's bad news. It's rapidly accelerating the onset and progression of chronic disease. And you cannot ignore the science anymore, the basic science and the clinical translation of the science. And so we have to do better. We can do better. I think that's why these conversations are so important, because we have to support the microbiome and stop doing the things that are destroying it.